Welcome to the Inappropriate Growth Podcast. Today, we explore a life of resilience, innovation, and impact. Sid Mohasseb joins us for a captivating conversation. He's a visionary entrepreneur, educator, and thought leader. From overcoming personal challenges to building successful businesses and inspiring others, Sid's journey is a testament to the power of perseverance, curiosity, and the relentless pursuit of purpose. In this episode, we'll delve into Sid's remarkable story, exploring his early experiences, pivotal moments, and the lessons he's learned along the way. Today, we shall discover how his unique blend of entrepreneurship, philosophy, and education has shaped his career and continues to drive his passion for making a positive impact on the world. Today, we shall get inappropriate. Welcome to the Inappropriate Growth Podcast. I'm Paul Angelle, your host, and today I'm extremely excited. I've got Mr. Sid Mohasseb.
Mohasseb.
I was on a roll. Now I guess I got to start over.
That's
Sid
all. Okay. So I'm in Los Angeles, California. I got here by the way of a plane about 7 years ago at the age of 16. An immigrant from Iran. Went to school, started a career, started a business while in school and sold it. Then started a career in consulting, basically, and became a partner of a firm. Then did some turnarounds and buyouts and started a number of companies and acted as the thought leader, as author, as investor, and so forth. And now I am teaching at university at USC, writing articles and books and stuff like that because I think I've got something to say. You know, you get old, you think you've got something to share. And I still do a little bit of early stage investing and advising, serving on a couple of boards.
Thank you. And again, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
I'm usually interested in origins and early challenges. And I read something that I just had to ask you about. How did your experiences with hemophilia shape your early life and your approach to challenges?
Loaded question. So the experience with hemophilia, it is still shaping me up. As a matter of fact, right this minute, I have my ankle that's bugging me, and I have to go and teach at university this afternoon, which is a challenge between the parking lot and the class. The hemophilia, I don't know, many of your audience may not know what it is. It's a genetic disease of sort. It's a blood disorder where you get bleeding and it wouldn't stop. And it's not necessarily external bleeding. It's not if you get a cut. It could be internal, and mostly it is internal. For example, you may walk too far on your ankles and or your knees, and you go home. You feel a little bit tired. The next morning, you may see a little bit black and blue because you hit your leg somewhere. For hemophiliacs, that continues to bleed because the factory, if you would, that creates the blood is flawed. It's not creating the right blood with the right stuff in it. So obviously, at early age in a third world country, in 60 some years ago, it was a challenge. It was a challenge actually even in the first world countries because there wasn't any real cure for it. There still isn't. But in those days, we had to take blood, and it would take days or 10 hours, 12 hours to get injections, and then slowly there was other means that it made it easier over the past 30, 40 years or so. So the challenges were I couldn't play with the kids. when I was going to school, my mom was sitting in the car, so that at breaks I'll come in and sit in the car. It just kind of felt weird. Uh, but at the same time, I think it was. I look at it as a blessing, and people say, "Oh, that's nonsense," but I really do. I appreciate walking and not having pain every day when most people take it for granted. It's such a wonderful feeling that you don't have pain, and when you do, you push through it. So it has impacted me in this attitude of being grateful, and at the same time thinking that it is possible to push through the pain.
And that's not really an unusual take. In fact, I've had a guest before call his time in prison a blessing
Yeah,
because it taught him to appreciate simple things
yeah.
like a window or the ability to walk outside whenever you want to.
It's a matter of changing your frame of reference and really seeing things through the, we have a choice, and people forget that we have a choice. We always have a choice. At any instance, you have a choice. You have a choice to push the button and delete this recording or this conversation, or you have a choice in the question that you're going to ask, or you have a choice. We all have a choice, all every second of every day. But often we forget we have a choice, and it's that creates the problem, that we don't realize we have a choice. People get your show and your audience are mostly business owners, small business owners. You have a choice to quit. You have a choice to do something else. There is a choice, and if you're sticking with it, you've made a choice. So there's nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing to be, frustrated with. You made a choice. And that choice is extremely important. It is change and choice that go hand in hand. If there is no change, there is no choice. If the world doesn't change, there is no choice for you to pick. And if there's no choice, there's no progress. There's no, you know, there's there's no there's no next step. If there's no change, your kid is always going to be 5 years old. If there's no choice, you always do the exact same thing. You always have hamburgers. You always have hot dogs. You always do the same thing. But you have a choice. And and I think that's what changes the frame of reference, or our perspectives, and that makes the difference in how we maneuver through life.
You early on had some intellectual curiosity. At a young age, you published your first book of poetry.
Yeah.
I'm I'm curious, how did your intellectual curiosity and love for learning fuel this journey?
First of all, that book did get published. I'm not sure how many people really bought the book, but it was the matter of creating the book that I think got me some satisfaction. Uh, Intellectual curiosity uh, could lead to two things. One is you could be purposefully curious. I may be drawing a fine line here. Purposefully curious means that you think that you're going in a direction, and then things are evolving on top of it. And what that does, it creates a very smooth transition from situations to situations because they're consistent and coherent. And then you have the curiosity that is not purposeful, which leads to confusion. Um, Purposeful curiosity uh, allows us to grow in a certain direction, and just random curiosity gets us lost, in a way, and that's a challenge. That's a challenge. Purposeful curiosity is rooted in your ability to think in a critical thinking manner, which is realize what objectivity is, realize how you're looking at the world has some biases in it, and be able to make a choice and have judgment, because critical thinking has two elements to it. One is objectivity, and the second is judgment. If you don't make judgment, there's no progress. But if you're judgmental, meaning that you introduce your own biases into that, then you would have less than optimum situations. So intellectual curiosity without those guide rails, if you would, could lead to haywire. Now, have I been lost at times along the way? Of course I have, like everybody else. Uh, but again, maybe because my desire to change and to pursue something better has made the difference. Maybe in creating that focus in certain directions. Um, Maybe it's been the hemophilia that you asked that has kept me honest with myself so that I don't get lost. Um, I am a believer that we all in our genes have the ability to exchange what we have with something better. Uh, there's proof. Texas A&M and others have done studies going back 500,000 years ago that human beings built this gene that is not just about survival; it's about thriving. So we do have it. We all have it. It's not something unique to me that I can say, "Hey, look at me! I'm Elon Musk or somebody different than others." It's just tapping into that ability, and that ability is to thrive and exchange what you have with something better, knowing that there's some risks. It's not the curiosity necessarily that drives progress. It's how you can organize the response to that curiosity. That some people are curious. They ask a lot of questions. And this goes to this notion that you see a lot of people on the VC circles and the investor circles. Oh, fail fast. You've heard this. Fail fast, fail often. That's a stupid thing to do. Why should I fail? And why should I fail fast? Now, you tell me I should learn fast, learn often. Now that changes the mindset. The key thing is to be able to apply the learning when you need to, right? So it's not about failing fast, it's about learning fast. And learning is not just, okay, I've got this written in book page 73, here's the thing. It's about being able to apply that at the right time, at the right place. And that is what creates progress.
You mentioned it at the beginning about your immigration coming from Iran. You were 16 years old, I believe.
Correct.
Tell about the decision to immigrate. I mean, I'm not sure if it was yours or not, but the challenges you faced in building a life here. I would imagine 40 something years ago, Iran was quite different from California, for example.
Actually, 40 some years ago, Iran was not that different from California. Today, it is very different from California. That's the surprising part of it, actually. Um, the decision was mine, and it was not something that my parents agreed with. I had some pain in my stomach. I went to the hospital because of my hemophilia. They didn't know what this was, and I decided while I was there, at the age of 15, that I'd like to come to America. So I told my parents, and they violently disagreed. Um, Being a bullheaded guy, I went in and I went to the Iranian American Association or whatever it was called, asked for some names of schools, and with their help, filled up the application and got accepted. Then went to get my passport, and they said, "Hey, you're underage. You can't get a passport. You need your parents' permission." So I was able to actually negotiate with the use of my uncle to convince my parents that I should come. Um, so that basically was the journey, and I used something that my father had told my father when they came from a small town from Iran to the capital, which was my father asked my grandfather, why are we leaving town and going to moving to the capital? And my grandfather said, in small water small fish will grow, in big water big fish would grow. So I used the same argument with my uncle and my parents, and I guess it worked. So I showed up here. Now there's a, I think, fine line between genius and stupid or crazy. I came in before the Iranian Revolution when things were actually pretty good. I could have gotten into every school. There was no, all of this stuff that you hear about killings and the religious stuff and all of that. There was none of that. I came before the revolution, and some people think that that was genius. I think that I had no idea what I was doing.
Your entrepreneurial journey began early on. What drove you to start your first company at 21? And what you said fail fast, but what lessons did you learn from that first experience?
An entrepreneur, by definition, I'm not making this up. By definition, by first definition, the guy that came up first with definition of what is an entrepreneur said it's a person who has something and exchanges it for something better. Someone who has something and exchanges it with something of higher value. Now, somebody else then 50 years later added the idea of risk. It's someone who has something, exchanges it with something of higher value, knowing that there is risk. So there's no definition of what you have and what you exchange it with. So people have turned that into money, that the exchanges with money, but that's not necessarily the definition of an entrepreneur. It's you have something, you exchange it with trade it with something of higher value, knowing that there is risk. There's not necessarily you may not be able to exchange it with something of higher value. Nor with that definition, I I realized that I realized today that when I came to the United States, I exercised my entrepreneurship. I said I have something. I like to change it with something better, knowing that there is risk. So every immigrant, in essence, is an entrepreneur. Everybody essentially is an entrepreneur. How do you define profit? So, first of all, I have a series of things that I talk about this notion of going from profit to reason. From profit to reason. Every organization, doesn't matter if it's a small one or a big one, operates on five pillars. Five pillars. The first one is the customer, of course. Then you have employees, you have investors, which may be you. You have your partners, the supply chain people, the people that help you do what you do. And you have the community or the society that you exchange something. Each one of these, you're in a constant exchange of things with them. So everybody assumes that we have a sales team and we sell. In reality, our sales team has zero decision making power. They do not contribute to our revenue. The buyer makes the decision to buy. Our salespeople don't make any decisions. They don't have control over my revenue. They do not. They may think so, but they don't. The buyer makes a decision. The same thing happens to employees. You think you're giving somebody a job? In effect, they're accepting a job in their own terms. You said, okay, here's $50,000, $100,000, whatever thousands of dollars that you give them, or $20 an hour or $50 an hour that you give them. Your assumption is that you gave them a job to do X. In their mind, they took this job because it's close, or because I need to pay my rent, or they have good benefits because I have a sick kid, or I can work 3 days from home when I can do my gardening, or I can leave at 5. I don't need to be worried about it. They didn't sign an agreement that they're going to bring their entire creativity, innovation because you gave them X dollars. That's not what they did. They make a choice of what they bring to the table and how they contribute. The same thing with partners, the same thing with investors. There is an exchange that happens. It's those reasons that drives our business. The reasons. So revenue and profits are outcomes. They are not. They are not inputs. You don't have control. What you have control over as a business is defining the reasons for those 5 pillars and being aware that they're always changing. The customers that you have today are very different than the customers that you had a year ago. They are the same age, but that doesn't mean they're the same. Their expectations has changed. The world has changed. So this reason and exchange is always in flux. So the role of a leader becomes more like a conductor who's harmonizing these reasonings to understand and say, and there's a give and take. Hey, I can give my employees another $10 or $100 an hour, but then I have to take it away from myself as an investor, as an owner, or I have to take it away from my purchaser. My providers, raw materials. I have to take it away from them and give it to these guys. Take it away from my employees and give it to my customers by lowering costs. This is always a constant exchange of reasons and decisions.
How did your exploration of Eastern and Western philosophy influence your understanding of life and your career goals?
I did study philosophy, both the Eastern and Western. I did dig into learning about um, the Jewish faith and the Kabbalah and the Christianity and the Genesis and the Muslims and the Hindus and the um, and I also did during that period of my life, which I was rather young, uh, mapping that to science and to Plato and to um, and I did learn a lot that has actually I think shaped my thinking. One thing that I learned is, and I still have this argument with people, by the way, is there's a big difference between religion and faith. Religion is a set of rules, and it's based on one leader, one structure, one set of things that happens. Faith is internal. Faith is what is absolute. It's that and those two things are not the same. If you are a faithful person, doesn't necessarily mean that you are a religious person. And if you are a religious person, doesn't necessarily mean that you truly are faithful. It just means you follow certain rules. Now, why is that? Why is that important in life? Because it gives you a compass. It gives you a compass that guides you in certain areas. I could have been a lot richer if I had violated some of those campus and some of the things that I now some people may say, oh, it's stupid. You could have taken the advantage, but hey, I walk the talk. Um, I could have been a completely different person, a completely different area, doing different things. Yeah, but for example, uh, I really, really believe in creativity and innovation. If I'm not involved in creating something new, it stops my growth. I begin to now. Could I have stayed in some of the places I was and businesses and whatever and make really good money doing pretty much jack? I could have, but hey, I shuffled the deck because what you said, profit is defined differently for me. So Again, this is the choices that we make, and those choices are made based on some compass, some direction, some beliefs, some faith that you have. So, has all of those studies shaped me or changed me? It has, and it has helped me come to another conclusion that I have a naive belief. My wife says I'm naive in thinking this way, that all people are good. I have a naive belief that all people have the inherent ability to create, to be entrepreneurial, to exchange what they have with something better. Um, that belief helps me trust people, and it actually helps others trust me. If you ask me what is the main thing that has created your success, I would say the trust that people have invested in me, be it investors, be it clients, be it friends. And that trust, I think, is fundamental. And if you break that trust, then not in one situation, in any situation. It's not that I broke the trust with you. If I break it with somebody else, I am capable of breaking trust. That and it doesn't matter that I didn't kill you. If I kill somebody else, I'm a murderer. It doesn't matter.
Your passion for education is obvious, and you love to create, and you love to teach. But what do you think it is that motivates you to share your knowledge and inspire others?
Uh, Last night, the USC started the new semester, and one of my students, this is I teach in the engineering school as well as the business school. This was the engineering school class, and one of the students, after they'd gone on and looked at my background and all that sort of stuff, says, "Hey, professor, you've done this, you've done this. You don't need the money. You're doing all this stuff. Your books and your this and your that. Why are you teaching? Why are you here?" So I'll give you the same answer. Once in a while, and hopefully more often than not, you see a spark in a student's eye. Boom! That's $1 million spark. You say, I got him. I got through to her. She saw something. And that something often goes pretty damn far. So there is no return on investment other than that. Or I get emails after 10 years, and I actually shared, I'm saying the same thing I told the student last night. I used to teach at Chapman. I used to teach negotiation about 15, 20 years ago, I think. About 8 years ago, 5 years ago, I don't exactly recall. I get an email, and the email says, I am Steve from your negotiation class of 15 years ago. You probably don't remember me. I am now in China working for XYZ company, and I'm the director of Asian operations, and we're negotiating a deal in China. We've been stuck for about 5, 6 months, and we cannot make progress. In the meeting today, I remembered something we discussed and you said in the class. I applied it. It worked. I'm at the hotel writing this email and we're going out to celebrate. Now, how much is that worth?
But that's you profiting right there, because that
That's
feeling is
it.
your profit.
That's it. That's it.
All right. Well, you've been involved in mentoring entrepreneurs and supporting the entrepreneurial community. What's the most rewarding aspects of this work?
Um, I have a deal with some people that some people that come to me and they offer me options and this and that, and I usually say, hey, I don't want to do that. But here we can talk, and when you make your first million, I'll take a beer. I've had about a six pack or 7 or 8 beers in my life.
Hopefully, it was a good beer.
Oh, it was a good beer.
No,
Any beer that's free, it's good. Seeing people progress is wonderful. It's and the thing is that it doesn't depend necessarily on me. It depends mostly on them, and they don't know it. Uh, yeah, I can shell out advice. I can see things faster than others because during some period of my life uh, I was the president of Tech Coast Angels, which is the largest angel investment entity in U.S. And I had a fund that made investments in companies. So I would see somewhere maybe around 3,000 deals a year. I would physically speak to 300 to 400 entrepreneurs about their business, about what they're doing. I would evaluate them and so forth. So I've looked at tens of thousands of business plans. So yes, I am sharper, faster in evaluating deals than others because I've seen so many. But most people uh, don't necessarily look at things with the objectivity that's required to analyze and improve things. Most entrepreneurs have dreams and aspirations, and they've worked on a topic for a long, long time, so they see it this way. But if they back up, they see three other options. Now, where I add value is because I back up, and I've seen a lot of stuff. It's not because I'm smarter than them. They may even be a lot smarter than me in a lot of areas. So usually the interactions with the entrepreneurs depends the value that they get. It depends on the value that they like to get, not the value that I bring to the table. It's are they listening? Are they connecting the dots? Are they doing what they're doing? Are they learning to? So a lot of people say, "Oh, I was on the board of a company and the CEO, and this is a big company. It's tens and hundreds of millions of dollars, a big company." Or say, "Oh, once you come in as a CEO," I said, "No, no, I'm not interested in running a company. I'm interested in making you the king. I like to be the kingmaker as opposed to the king." That success, I think, in the relationship with the entrepreneurial activities or helping entrepreneurs succeed is 90% them, 10% me.
looking ahead for you, what are your goals and aspirations? How do you envision continuing to make a positive impact?
Uh, I do have, and this is fairly fresh. Uh, there was somebody in Philippines that reached out to me, and out of the blues. And this is a young lady, very, very smart, very smart. They're a very humble beginning. She's starting her business in these virtual things, and and I agreed to help her with her business. I mean, there's no money involved. It's just, and then she said, "I also have this idea, which I think I've read your books, I've seen your TED talks, I've read your articles, and I said, what is it? I said, okay, write it up for me. So she did a two-paragraph thing, which inspired me. Not necessarily what she was talking about, creating a master, mind class and stuff like that, which inspired me to think about the following, which is creating a sort of a entrepreneurship academy of sort, with the objective of having many people on live sessions, not one, not two, not 10 people. It's not a mastermind. As you have noticed, I speak very plainly. I don't use big words. I don't, because I use a lot of analogies. Um, to tackle the topics of the mind and this exchange ideas and where do you think and the topics of resilience and fear and the things that make us who we are, and create this thing with some sort of an educational element to it, not lecturing but conversationally talking about the topics. having sessions on the rapid fire style, which is what I just explained, that hey, people can explain 3 minutes to me and I can give them some feedback with audience live. um, and creating a way of giving back to some entrepreneurs, meaning being able to have sponsors, have memberships, and then turn that around. And if there is a, I don't know, someone in Indonesia or in Israel or in Kansas City who can use a few $1,000s to start their business, give it as a grant to start. So basically, create an academy that's focused on the mindset of entrepreneurship than the how tos that are out there.
Kind of like a deeper altruistic Shark Tank almost.
Yeah.
I like it.
So now, would it work? I don't know, but that's the you said where this is what I'm thinking now, and if you have audience who think that this is stupid idea or a good idea, hey, reach out to me.
Well,
Uh,
okay. In that vein, Sid, if let's say someone's watching or listening, we do both to the podcast, and they would love to get in touch with you, or they want to reach out, they want to read your book, they want to find out where you're speaking, they want to work with you. What are the best ways, or what's the best way to get in touch?
the best way is my email, which is my name. It's sid@mohasseb.com. sid@mohasseb.com. They can also, if they Google me, they'll find my books. They'll find a couple of TED Talks. Uh, they'll find lots of articles from, I don't know, USA Today to Foreign Policy to Forbes to I don't know, to Time Magazine, to Newsweek or Harvard Business Review. They'll find lots of articles now from from a whole host of topics, from philosophy to politics to business and so forth. So they can read about and learn about how I think and what I think. So
Well, Sid, this has been great. I feel smarter having talked to you. This is
thank you
I'm
so much.
really grateful that you reached out and you came on the show. This has been an excellent episode, and I I really appreciate it.
My
To
my
you,
pleasure. I hope that I was able to provoke someone in your audience.
maybe a spark somewhere,
Yeah.
maybe even with me. You gave me some really good ideas.
No,
To
just
all our listeners and to those people that watch, thank you. And just remember, if you're going to grow, chances are you're probably going to do something inappropriate.